What's up, guys? Happy holidays, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well and staying warm and having a jolly time with family. Today's episode is with a guy named Tractor Ass. He's a very wholesome man, a family-oriented guy, and he's got a lot to say today. So we're very excited for that. And as with every episode, we do giveaways. We give away a bond. So if you want to qualify for that, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends if you appreciate the content. We have clips now too. And make sure to comment, a good comment, and tag your RSN. And if I like it, I'll call you out in the next video. Anyways, the winner of last week's giveaway is Cyanide TLR. Congrats, man. Make sure to join the clan and let people know you won, and you'll get your bond. All right, enjoy the episode, guys. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're live. Welcome to episode 20 of the Real Workless Experience. Today we have with us a phenomenal guest in person character. His name is Tractor Ass. He's a super cool dude. I met him about maybe 7 months ago in my house. He was throwing snowballs at me, and now we're friends. He's a silver star in the clan. He's been with us for a while. He is a very well spoken and brings up a lot of exciting perspectives. So yeah, we're very happy to have him. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, so as you know, with every single podcast, what we're doing is we're exploring how the way we play old school RuneScape affects how we play in real life. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, learning some about you, and pretty much going from there. So, but yeah, without any further ado, Tractor, could you go ahead and just kind of introduce a little bit about who you are, like vaguely, where you're from, what you do, and how long have you been playing RuneScape for?
All right, so I'm Tractor Ass. In real life, I'm 29, married, I have 2 kids. I'm an assistant plant manager for a concrete company, and I think I've been playing RuneScape since I was probably 12 to 14 years old. Um, I know my account on RuneScape 3, which I don't play, is at least 15 years old because I have the cape for it. Um, it's about That's about the most I know about how long I've been playing. Um, I guess the way I got into RuneScape is kind of to me, funny story. In elementary school, I used to go to the library after school, and actually, a guy at the library took the wheel off his rolling chair and threw it at another guy. And I decided I didn't want to be on that guy's bad side, so I went over and was hanging out with him, and he was playing RuneScape, and that's actually what got me started. So I've been playing ever since, off and on.
Nice. You know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. And it sounds like that's what you did. And then
Yeah, I'm
he
not trying to get
introduced you.
hit with one of those wheels.
That's funny. So that was about what is that, 6th grade? 12 years old is when you started playing then?
Probably somewhere around there. It's been so long I can't keep up with it.
Sure. Okay. And which part of the world are you from? Like I know you're from the US,
Oh,
but like
I forgot about that. So I'm from North Carolina, if you can't already tell by the way I sound.
I couldn't tell. But now nah, it's all good. No, I think you sound great. So, you sound like a true American as far as I can tell.
Yeah, tractor ass probably fits me pretty well for a name.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you've been playing RuneScape since you were 12. You got introduced to it because a Chad at your school was throwing wheels at people, and you decided to join them righteously, and now you're here. So you've been playing ever since, is
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
Yep.
Excellent.
It's on like anybody else is kind of like an escape from reality. I've had friends in the game that I could have never had in real life, and I don't know. It's always been there for me, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I had one of my good friends who played RuneScape. He was explaining to me how when his when when his I don't remember if he broke up with his girlfriend or his girlfriend broke up with him, but and he was using the example of his Xbox, but she was saying like you play so much like Call of Duty and you don't spend enough time with me, and so they ended up breaking up. But he was saying like unlike her, his Xbox never leaves; it's always there. and and
That
RuneScape's the
makes
same way.
sense.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, okay, so you've been playing since you were 12. Now you're 29. Did you ever like have you been playing all the way consistently, even past like EOC, or did you take a break in between?
I played, I think, all the way up until they took the wilderness away the first time, and a little bit after that, I guess, because I leveled my defense up because all I did was fight people in the wilderness. It's the only thing I really enjoyed. And then I raised my defense up, and then they brought the wilderness back, and my account was no longer competitive in the wilderness because I'd ruined the stats on it. So I quit. Tried to come back, and they had the EOC. Like a lot of people, I really didn't enjoy it, and so I quit again, and didn't start back, I'd say, until mobile released on beta. So that's when I came back.
Okay, so about like a sounds like a 6 year hiatus before you came back, and now you play exclusively mobile. Is that correct?
Yep. I don't actually own a computer, which I thought about getting maybe a laptop, but I kind of just enjoy what I do on my phone here.
Yeah, I guess. Is there a reason why you choose not to get a computer? Is it like you don't need it for work? You were just planning on getting one for gaming, or
If I did get one, the only thing I would use it for is gaming, but like at
oh,
this
I see.
point, I mean, I'm actually kind of afraid it would get, messed up by my kids during the day while I'm going to work or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
okay.
I'm actually kind of a boring RuneScape player because most of the time I like to sit and watch what everybody else is doing and saying. So I don't really get too into it like bossing like everybody else does.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair. RuneScape is before I recorded with you, I was having a conversation with Bully, who's listening in on this right now. We were talking about how RuneScape it accommodates life better just because it's less of a intensive game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways you can play this game and have your own style, and that's one of the main things I like about it.
Yeah, it kind of fits your work on the go lifestyle, especially with it being mobile. I'm not sure if you play at work, probably not, or maybe not too much. But also, since you have kids, you can focus, the bulk of your time taking care of your family and not something like RuneScape. But you can still have it to, let loose sometimes if you want to. It sounds.
Actually, most of the time you guys see me on, I'm at work. So
Oh shit.
yeah, I've built most of my accounts on my phone at work.
Wait, so are you so you have multiple accounts? That makes sense because I met you on your other account, which is
Yeah,
the 1488.
1488.
Yeah. That's a cool number. Um what uh so like are you more of like a like were you more of like a PK, or is that why you made so many accounts, or what's the story with multiple accounts here?
Back when I actually played on PC, that's what I like to do, but it's so much different now. Even if I went back and got a PC, I'd be trash. Um, I just get bored easily with these other accounts, and I feel like playing low level accounts is more fun than having, like max main type accounts. So I'll make one, get it up to about 100, 110, and then start over on another one. Do it a little bit different this time. Just trying to experiment with something different, see what I enjoy more.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So you just
Yeah,
make new accounts just because you want to, just to play, approach approach building your account differently, like not like no specific goal.
I'll start out with a goal and then it's like I can't focus on that one particular goal, so I'll change it up midways through and I end up with these weird builds that doesn't really do any one thing good, but it's just fun to play. So uh yeah, I've probably got 3 or 4 different accounts.
Okay.
Um Tractor Ass is actually a lower level than my 1488 account, but it's just more fun to play, so here I am.
Yeah. What is it about playing on lower levels that makes it more that you enjoy more? Most of the people that I talk to, they've usually the goal is, you the lower levels are more of the grindy stuff, and all the content is towards the end, unless you're playing Iron Man. Which I don't think your account is Iron Man. It's just a regular account, right?
For me, the most fun part is like mid-range levels. Like you get like 70 range or something on an account that has no other combat stats. Those kind of accounts appeal to me more than, you know, high levels or, even these real low level, what do you call them? Pures.
Mm-hmm.
Just, just a mid-range like PVM style account. Like I never set out with the goal to be like a competitive player versus player character. I'm just kind of weird about how I play. A lot of people spend a lot of time in Nightmare Zone to get real high stats, but I just enjoy that mid range. It's not like real grindy. You don't have total crap weapons, but then again, you're not just spending hours and hours to get one level.
Sure. Okay. I can relate. Yeah. There is I guess the way that RuneScape and most RPGs are set up, and maybe more so with RuneScape, it's definitely as you get higher up, everything becomes more and more of a grind, right? Especially as you reach like the upper 90 levels. It's just like it just feels like it takes forever to
Yeah,
progress.
and I kind of got irritated when my account got stuck in RuneScape 3 because I spent all that time maxing out my melee stats. And then it's like now I don't like the game that it's on, and I've lost all that progress and had to start over. So I just gave up on the maxing out levels. Um, it just really lost appeal to me once they switched to that RuneScape 3 evolution of combat. It it's even now it's not as fun to me as it used to be before they changed all that. Um,
Even now, like with old school RuneScape, it's not as fun as it used to be.
to me, no, it's not. But the one thing that keeps me coming back is like the people that I meet in the game.
Oh, okay. So more of the community aspect.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I'm a pretty boring RuneScape player. I'll stand at the GE and just watch people's conversations or watching the clan chat. That's one of the things that kept me in your clan chat is the people that were there and the conversations being had.
Good.
Sometimes it's pretty wild stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, how we how we started um, conversing was having fringe dissident conversations. That um, I was picking up what you were putting down, and that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, a lot of people really don't like my style, I feel like, but I mean, it's me. If you don't like it, oh well. It's kind of rare to find somebody that I really agree with in RuneScape, especially nowadays. So when I find it, I'm gonna stick there.
Good. Yeah. A lot of good people, I think, in our clan that are are genuinely open minded, right? And those who aren't just kind of they just kind of leave. So we're glad to have you, and that's actually why I wanted you on. You have a very interesting and profound outlook on life, I think, and I think it's good for the audience to hear. Maybe not go too in depth about it specifically, but in depth enough. but
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's good to hear opposing opinions because if not, you're like basically putting yourself in an echo chamber. I feel like you just hear the kind of stuff that you already like hearing or are used to hearing. I think that's one of the reasons I don't get irritated when somebody comes on there saying something I don't agree with. I like to hear a different perspective.
Well, yeah, it's what it's how conversations, you know, really used to be, right? And that's how you learn is when you hear perspectives that maybe differ from your own, but you don't try to silence them. You're in a position to just hear what they say. It becomes a genuine and insightful, you know, or maybe insightful conversation, right? And I think that's the bulk of what makes this game of old school RuneScape right now. It's more so I lean so more so the community. It's not like the nostalgia. It's like the community that really is the glue that holds the game together.
I feel like that is the case, man, because like almost anybody you talk to, if you ask them how old they are, it seems like they're in their mid to late 20s. You know, they started about the time I started. I feel like the majority of people I've talked to, it's not necessarily a kid's game like I feel like World of Warcraft is, if that makes any sense.
Yes, yeah. Why do you say it's not a kids game? I was talking to Bully just about this. He's probably got some comments. Um, that like towards the end, what we'll do questions. But why do you say it's not a kids game?
I just really don't feel like there's that many new people coming into this game like there used to be, like young people. I feel like the majority of people I've met are people that have been playing 5, 10 years, at least. It's like, you know, like I said, mid to late 20-year olds. People say the community is toxic on OSRS, but I get into that type of community, man. I feel like I relate with them the best. And a lot of times people will say something that you might take as being smart ass, but those are the kind of people that I cling to. Like I can get into that. It's just the existing community I feel like is older than what you would expect if you didn't know anything about the game and just happened to look at it.
Sure, yeah, I agree with you. Certainly, old school RuneScape is not attracting any younger Gen Zs or Gen Alpha kids, right? They're all playing more stimulating games with bright colors and more immersive interactions. Not not something like RuneScape.
Yeah, like I tried to get my wife to play RuneScape, but it's just so boring.
Well, she's
It's
never played
not, I mean,
RuneScape, right? So she wouldn't have an
yeah,
interest in it.
but it would still be cool, like, if I could introduce more people to the game, especially people that I know, because there's not a lot of people that I know in real life that played or have ever played RuneScape.
Sure. Tell us more about your about your job actually. So you said that you run your own uh, company and it's a
No, no, no. I don't run the company. I'm just an assistant plant manager at a
okay.
concrete company. The company actually has multiple plants in several different states. Me personally, I will send specific trucks to specific areas with a specific material, depending on the needs of these other plants. What I deal with is like dry bulk type materials, like either cement or fly ash, which is just basically like coal ash triple burn. Um, we keep just where I'm at, we keep 13 other plants running by delivering dry bulk to them. It's pretty cool. I grew up always liking trucks, trains, tractors, and we've got trucks, we've got front end loaders, we've got rail cars that we deal with. It's a pretty awesome job, to be honest.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing that for?
I actually just switched to it a few weeks ago. Before that, I was doing machining, and that was a drag to say the least.
Okay. Sure. So it sounds like a lot of work with your hands.
Yeah, to me, that's like my favorite kind of thing to do. I'm not the type that could sit in an office or anything like that. I want to be out doing stuff. To me, it just makes the day go by the day go by a lot faster when I'm staying busy all day.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially when you're doing something physical, right? So it serves two purposes. It keeps you healthy. Well, it keeps you moving at least. And
Yeah,
I imagine you sleep a lot better too because you were able to expend some energy when you were working.
I'm struggling with the sleep part because for the last 10 years I've worked either second or third shift, and now I've got to be there 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's when I'm used to going to bed. So that I'm still struggling with, but other than that, man, it's awesome. Um, I would be on a lot more playing RuneScape, but like I said, man, if I got to be to work at 5 a.m., I'm still not used to the schedule, so I'll get off work at like 1 or 2 and be ready to go to bed as soon as I get home. It's been kind of rough.
Yeah. So you've been doing your this is a new job, but you were doing your mechanic job for the past 10 years, working third shift doing that.
I was doing machining, and I did that for like probably the last 5 years.
What is
Um,
machining?
Machining like CNC machines. Specifically, I was making input shafts that go into a rear axle and a set of tandem axles on an 18 wheeler.
Okay. Okay. So
Pretty.
putting stuff like kind of putting stuff together for the for the trucks is what it sounds like. Kind of like an assembly line stuff.
I No, 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 no. I'm making the parts that the assembly line uses, basically. So
Oh, okay.
my job was a little more skilled in the fact that my parts had to be within several 10 thousandths of an inch on probably like 20 to 30 different dimensions.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So I was running a mill that cut parts to length, and then I had a robot that took those to 3 lathes, and then another robot that took those to 2 spline rollers and a hob cutter. So I was running a mill, 3 lathes, 3 robots, 2 spline rollers, a hob cutter, and a parts washer by myself. It was just tedious work.
But you liked it though.
I did it first, but the management changed and it's been going downhill. So I had to get out of there, and just actually being out of that plant lifestyle, because it was inside of a plant, but being out and outside and doing something different and interacting with new people every day, turns out I'm way more into that than I ever was, just standing there making offsets on a lathe or changing inserts or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds like you're a lot more social than than you thought you were.
That is the case, but then again, I don't have to deal with any kind of customer directly. It's all other people that work with my company.
Sure. Okay. Cool. So you were doing the machinery work for 10 years, and due to the recent changes in management, um, you decided to go and work here now. And it's a
Yeah.
new schedule. You're not working third shift anymore. You're waking up early in the morning, and so you're adjusting to the new lifestyle.
Yeah. I took a pay cut to go to this job, but it's been so worth it, man. It doesn't pay to go to a job you're not happy at anymore. I mean, to me, it took an extreme amount of effort to even get up to go to work when I don't like the job or the people.
Was it at your old job? Was it both the job and the people, or was it mainly the job that you didn't like?
I didn't like the job. See, the job itself, I'd been trying to get off that sale for probably 3 years. And the problem with that was it takes so much to train a new operator over there because there's so many machines involved that they don't want to take the time to train another person. So I was the only person that could run that machine on my shift, like, period. And there was basically no chance of me getting moved. They just kept adding more and more to that process. And I kept telling them, if I can't get off here, I'm just going to leave. And they didn't do anything. They gave me false promises like, oh, just give it a couple more weeks. And nothing ever happened. So, uh, see you guys later. I'm out of here.
Yeah. No, that's it sounds like the right move, They can't just be I mean if they are doing that, it's obviously they don't value you as much as they could be. So, it
It
sounds like a
made it
better move.
worse. It made it a lot worse now after COVID because in this area I'm in, which I'm sure it's probably similar everywhere, we just can't find new people to hire. And even when you do hire people, they'll stay maybe a week, 2 weeks and decide, well, this is way too much to learn and go elsewhere. So it was just a weird cycle of they would hire a new guy. I would start training him. He would quit. They hire another one. I start training him and he would quit. And we're not getting paid anymore for the extra effort we're putting in. So it's just kind of not worth it.
Yeah. There's no incentive.
None. Plus now, one of the perks of working day shift like a normal person is my family. I spent no time with my family because I would get off work at 11 or 12 at night. My family's asleep. I just missed so much time with my wife and kids, and now I'm kind of regretting it.
How long have you had kids for?
I've got a son that's 3 and a daughter that's 1. Their
Okay.
birthdays are coming up in December, so they're almost 4 and 2.
Excellent. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely I'd say that's the biggest perk, getting to spend time with your family, especially now as your kids are getting older. There's
Yeah, no,
a reward in itself to see your children grow up and being there for
no,
them.
no amount of money is worth the time you miss with your family, in my opinion.
I'd agree with you. There's at the place where I work right now, I work with doctors, and we have a lot of ad locum doctors that they make a lot of money, but they travel out of state, and they're hospitalists,
Yeah,
meaning they do these rounding things, but they work like 7 days on, 7 days off, and a lot of the doctors are they're leaving their positions because you know they're telling me like they have kids that um, you know they come back and they see their kids, and their young kids don't remember who they are. So they're always like it's like starting over each time you see your own kid, and yeah. So they said it's just not worth it. But I don't have kids myself,
yeah,
but I can, you know, I think empathize with that. So I think that's a good reason to
I can't
get off the
imagine
night
that,
shift.
man. I feel like one of the best parts of my day is coming home and my kids running up screaming, "Daddy, Daddy," and wanting me to pick them up or hug them or hold them. I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's the I think we do agree on the most important thing is family. At least in uh in lieu of our recent, actually not even recent, but like probably the last time I talked to you, like we've definitely talked about family before and the importance of uh you know passing on your lineage and progressing the genes and stuff. But
yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I agree 100%.
yeah, is your wife, does she work too, or is she a stay at home mom?
I'm doing everything I can to make it to where she can be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
I just always felt like that was like traditionally, I feel like that's how households used to be. And me and my wife both have the same view on these types of things. I would rather my kids be at home with their mom than, at like a daycare or a school with a stranger teaching them teaching them things. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What are they
also,
teaching them?
yeah, I mean, plus at this age, I got a lot of friends with kids about the same age as my kids, and I'm not trying to like brag on them, but I guess I am. My son's 3, and this guy is like writing his ABCs, and he can count. He can. He's not really spelling, but the kid's like leaps and bounds smarter than other kids. It seems like of his age around here, and it's all because he spends every day with his mom, and his mom buys like workbooks and all kinds of educational stuff for him, and they enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Well, it is one of those things like, play is a form of education, especially when you're young, right? It's not just sitting
Yeah,
down like in a classroom, being forced to whatever. I don't know. Like like something boring, especially when they're young. They don't have the attention span for it. But if you keep them entertained and doing stuff, like it's almost like a Montessori education, right? They learn through doing stuff that they like, and
yeah.
it sounds like that's what your 3 year old is like.
Man, the kid's ways. I feel like he's probably smarter than me, and he's only 3. Just the stuff he knows. The kid can see like any kind of dinosaur and tell me specifically what kind of dinosaur that is. I'm like, man, I don't even know the name of that dinosaur. Are you kidding me? How do you know these things, man? Or he's real big into trucks or tractors, and he can see a specific kind of truck and be like, oh, well, that's a Peterbilt truck or a Kenworth truck or a crane excavator. He knows all this stuff. I can't remember being that smart when I was his age.
Well, it's because you're giving him a better a better growing up, hopefully, right? And it sounds like his interest in trucks is, it sounds like it's coming from you because you have the same interest and you also worked with trucks before, right? So I imagine there's a lot of truck related things that your children play with, and it sounds like you're growing them right. So
I,
congratulations, keep it up.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
But with
man.
him, it's like I don't try to push them one way or another. They kind of pick their own things that they like. And just so happens my son is literally like the miniature version of me when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's funny. What like do you are you planning on having more kids, or is two where you want to stop? Because you're still pretty young. You're 29. I don't know how old your wife is, but it sounds like you still have room for 4 more.
If it were up to my wife, then we would like literally just earlier today, she said, I know what I want for Christmas. And I'm like, what? She's like, another baby. Well, I would like to be more financially stable, like have a house paid for, this
Oh,
and
that's
that,
fair.
before I try to have any more kids. If I end up with just 2, then I'm fine with that. But if I end up with more, then I'm also fine with that. I mean, kids has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. Completely changed me as a person. Kids have actually taught me, one thing that sticks out they taught me is just patience. Used to be I would just go off over nothing, and now, man, it takes a lot to get me irritated. More so than more so than their mom, and she used to be the patient one of the 2 of us.
Yeah, well, I imagine mom is the one at home more often, right? And gets gets the privilege and blessing of taking care of them when you're not around. So it
Yeah, I can see her point of view. I mean, she's stuck with him 24/7, and I go to work, and I'm not in here changing diapers all day or, picking up messes, feeding kids.
yeah, yeah, I uh I can see that. So your goal right now is to become more financially stable. So by choosing this new job, you took a pay cut, but it's your job is now more bearable. You get to see your family more. Do you see this new job as a career? Like you want to stick with it and hopefully just kind of build a career from there. It sounds like you live in a pretty rural community, right? If you're doing machinery work on um, like 18 wheelers and now you're doing concrete stuff at this plant.
Um, the the town I grew up in, the population was like probably like 2,000 people.
Okay, so
Uh,
pretty small.
oh, when I tell you small, I mean like when I was in middle school, I think when I was in 8th grade, we had 7 people in our 8th grade class. Like small, small. Um,
I went to a school like
I've
that.
kind of,
Yeah, that's not bad. Not for like my whole until 12th grade, but for my earlier years, I went to a really small school. It's not bad.
yeah.
You know people.
I mean, you know everybody. I mean, but it's kind of a small town. Most of it's rural. I I grew up, running through the woods with guns and this and that, hunting, fishing, you name it. I can remember when I was in elementary school, probably in like second grade, man, me and my buddies would go hunting and be gone all night. Just a couple of dudes in second grade. I think I was what, like 7, 8 years old at the time, out in the woods with like 22 rifles, following our dogs hunting. Uh, I think we actually got shot at while hunting while in second or third grade by somebody.
Shot it with bullets or shot it with BBs? Like, what do you mean
No,
shot at?
like actual guns, man. See, we
What?
did coon hunting. Yeah, we did coon hunting, man. So you take a dog and basically train it, let it go, and it would go tree a coon. And there's no telling where it's going to go. And this particular night, I guess it went too close to someone's house and they came outside shooting. And it was literally just me and my buddy and a dog and a couple of little 22 rifles. And somebody came outside and started shooting through the trees. I mean, they didn't get anywhere near us, but you could hear bullets hitting tree limbs and stuff. But
Damn.
yeah, I can't imagine letting my kids go do the stuff I did when I was young.
Well, it's a different time as well, right? It's the childhood that you had is the world is no longer the same, and your kids will not have the same experiences, um, or maybe
Not
not.
at all.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's unfortunate because I learned a lot of stuff at a young age that I feel like a lot of kids nowadays would have to, heck, even join the Boy Scouts or something to learn some of the outdoors type stuff that I learned just, going out and doing it with my buddies at a young age.
yeah. It sounds like you had a pretty good childhood. Kind of as you were telling that story with the gun, it reminded me of like some Tom Sawyer or like some Huckleberry Finn stuff or something. I don't know. I can't really relate, but I think that's awesome though that you were able to have something like that. So you still live in the same town that you grew up in then, correct? So you
I'm
never
pro
left it.
well, I'm probably like maybe 15 minutes down the road from that town. Um, I ended up having to move. Uh, this area is kind of notorious for low wages and high cost of living. So I ended up getting an apartment because I didn't have time to, um, the way things worked out when I was renting, landlord decided to sell her place, didn't tell us until a month beforehand. I didn't have time to find a place to buy, so I ended up in an apartment and it cost way too much money for what we were getting. And then, see, I'm not used to being in the apartment lifestyle. We kind of grew up in the country. We were loud and rowdy and liked to drink and have a good time, but apparently neighbors don't like that when you're living in an apartment. So we got kicked out of there and ended up having, like, we were kind of just forced to buy a house on a small piece of land, not in the ideal area, but
When we say not ideal area, is it like close to like major streets or something, or is it like high crime?
it's not a high crime area and it's not even necessarily in the middle of a big city or anything like that. It's just I grew up. I like to be able to walk outside. I know this is going to sound country as fuck, but I want to be able to walk outside in the morning and take a piss off my front porch and not have to worry about somebody getting mad about it. And it's just not one of those areas. Um, we're probably like a mile from like one of the major high schools in the area, so I really feel like I can't shoot guns. I mean, it just cramps my style.
Yeah, crimps style. That's not a bad way to describe it. It certainly sounds like because you're closer to let's see, you're closer to people, right?
Yeah,
It's less rural, so you can't be a free bird like the Leonard Skinner song, right? You have to.
yeah,
That's funny. Well, I mean,
yeah.
it certainly beats being in an apartment. I think it's always good to own your own plot of land. Even if it's not in an ideal area, at least your property can appreciate.
Yeah, and in this area, the way things are going, I mean, if you own a house or property, the prices are only going up. A lot of people keep moving to this area, and it's generally people that have already retired and already have money set aside. So, they're not joining the workforce. They're just looking for a place that they can spend the rest of their life, in the mountains here in North Carolina.
Sure, retirement
Um,
community. Okay.
it just kind of drives the cost of living up.
Hmm. Okay. So, so that's where you are now. You're working. You want to build a career so you can take care of your wife and two kids, so that she doesn't have to work, so she can be home to, know, take care of the kids, make sure
Yeah.
that they have the mother that they deserve, and you want the you're a traditionalist. You want the lifestyle that it should be, is what it sounds like.
The way I feel like it should be, at least. I feel like I was born in the wrong generation. You know,
Yeah.
things aren't really set up to where you could have a one income household and be able to, fully support it the way it should be supported.
Oh yeah, it hasn't been like that since World War II, right?
Yeah.
So was it so I want to tie it back to RuneScape here, but like, so it sounds like you've had a very adventurous, and it's something that I feel like I said, I feel like I would read in like a Tom Sawyer book or something, right? It and I mean that as a compliment. I think
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. But like, how did you like how did you get into RuneScape then? Like, did you have a computer at home? Like, did you go to like the local library to, like, how do you go from like shooting, like, going raccoon hunting and getting shot at in second grade to, going going on RuneScape?
It sounds terrible when you actually say it, but no, see, the elementary school I was in, it was right next to the downtown in the town I lived in. We did have a computer at home, but there was no reliable internet connection. Like no matter what, we couldn't get decent internet at our house, so I could never play RuneScape. It was just always too slow. So I would have to come up with an excuse to convince my parents to let me walk downtown after school by myself, and I would go to the library, and that's where I would play RuneScape. Probably up until I went to high school.
Really? That's huh. So you would go, like, you would bring all your schoolwork, tell your parents like, "Hey mom, going to the library by myself. Don't come. You don't need to. I'll just come home later for dinner or something, and just kind of do my homework and study with my friends." And you just go there and play RuneScape.
I couldn't even use homework as an excuse because, like, I always hated school, man. Um, I tried to always do my schoolwork at school so I didn't have to mess with it outside of school because I always had something going on. Um, it was always an excuse like, hey, one of my friends and their mom or something is going somewhere. Can I go with them? And instead of actually doing what I said I was going to do, I would sneak off and go play RuneScape.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's
So
just
you would use like hanging out with your friends as an excuse to go play RuneScape. So you just
well,
like ditch your
exactly.
friends and so it'd be like, "Hey, I thought Tractor was coming over," and it's just like, no, like,
Well, I wouldn't actually tell my friend about it. I would just, tell my parents that was what I was going to go do. And when I was growing up, I mean, it was nothing I mean, everybody knew everybody in that town. So when I said I was going to one of my buddies' houses, my parents knew their parents. Like they all went to school together. So they're not worried about what I might be doing or if I might get hurt or get in trouble. So they kind of trusted the other people's parents. It was just me, I guess, that they couldn't trust. Um, because I would be doing something completely different than what they thought I was doing. And it was before cell phones and all that. So it was like when I was gone, I was gone. There was nothing they could do to find me.
yeah. Well, it's you lived in a very high trust society though, right? So rest
Yeah.
assured you weren't like since everybody knew each other, you probably didn't get kidnapped, and you know, unless you were being total a total idiot, you're probably still alive, just somewhere in town, right? So
Somewhere. The
yeah,
biggest danger was somebody seeing me that knew my parents and was like, "Oh, I saw your son, walking down the street
he was going to
on
the
Main."
library. It's funny. What if like did your friends play RuneScape then, or like what's the like how does that work if there was like one computer and you're the one who used it to play RuneScape, but all your real life friends were, doing like you weren't hanging out with them, you were playing RuneScape. Like what, like how does that work out? Most kids I
Well,
know, they wanted to hang out with their friends and they played RuneScape because their friends played RuneScape, right? It was a social experience like that.
that's kind of how I used RuneScape as well, as like a social thing. I had friends inside the game, that I felt like were as good of friends as friends that I had in real life. Nobody that I knew at that point in time ever really played RuneScape except for that one guy that I told you threw the wheels off of that office chair at another guy. And I wasn't really friends with him, so I didn't play with him very much. It wasn't until I went to high school that I actually met other people that played RuneScape besides that initial guy that introduced me to it.
When you went to high school, was it like a bigger high school, like more than 7 kids, and so therefore you had like a bigger pool of potential RuneScapers?
It actually was a bigger high school because at that point in time I went to live with my mom because my parents had divorced when I was real young, and she lived in a bigger city. And one of the reasons I got so into RuneScape in high school is because I come from like a country backwoods town, with barely anybody in it. And now I'm going to high school with a bunch of people that I've never met before and that are completely different from me because these guys grew up in like upper middle class neighborhoods and stuff, and like people could barely understand me when I went to that school. I had to work on my country sounding accent so people could understand me when I talked. I just didn't fit in. So RuneScape, man, you can be anybody you want to be when you play RuneScape, I feel like.
Interesting. Okay, that's pretty punk rock, So you didn't fit in at this high school with all these upper middle class, probably city kids, right? That didn't have the appropriate accent. They thought you sounded weird, and your it sounds like your place of sanctum was RuneScape, Gillianor, where you could interact with people where they didn't hear what you sounded like and they treated you like a normal person.
Yeah, at a certain point in time in my life, I felt like the friends I had on RuneScape were some of the best friends I actually had until, I got to know some of these people at my high school a little better. Because before then, it was like you know, I was in fights and stuff because somebody smarts off to me, man. I'm gonna fucking let them have it. But I, I guess RuneScape people don't judge you based off of how you look, dress, or sound. Just who you are as a person, because that's all they really know about you. What you tell them and how you interact with them. Um, I'm still friends with. I think the very first guy I made friends with on RuneScape. We're still friends on Facebook to this day.
That's awesome. It's very special when you can find genuine friendships like that, especially through an online video game, and you're able to maintain them. I had a friend
Yeah,
that his name was Light Cheese 31. That I remember sharing emails with him, and we used to send emails. And then at some point, I think either like I stopped playing or he did, but we just kind of stopped, right? But I still have him on my friends list, and his account name has never changed. It's still Light Cheese 31. So have you?
man, I've I've got a lot of people like that haven't played in years, but they're still on my friends list just in case they log on one day. I'm just waiting on it. It's probably never gonna happen, but I'm still waiting.
Yeah. There's something special about the. You mentioned earlier how the friends that you met on RuneScape were, I mean, they were like as good, if not better, than the friends that you had in real life, right? And there's it's just something that is very unique, I think, to gamers to experience that type of relationships. Like people who have never gotten into online massive multiplayer online games don't quite understand the depth of relationships that can be gleaned. Like there was a person that uh, it was a podcast we recorded with Aspect of AFK. She's a mother as well. I think she only has one kid. She's a stay-at-home mom, but she actually met her husband on World of Warcraft. But her
Yeah.
story was very not quite like yours, but in a similar sentiment. She was kind of made fun of, sort of like a loser, but in game she had friends and she was cool. She was able to help people. Until this day, that's why she appreciates her experiences with RuneScape and still plays.
And for me, like growing up, we were kind of poor, right? So we never really had things like PlayStation 1s or PlayStation 2s or anything like that. I remember, I think like Xbox 360 came out and we were still playing Nintendo 64. Like we were just behind the times, I guess. Like this town, the whole town seemed to be that way. And I didn't know anything like RuneScape even existed. So when I finally discovered it and I'm like, wow, there's thousands of people I could talk to and interact with. This is like nothing I've ever seen before. It just kind of blew my mind, man. It just, it's been a big part of my life. I feel like it may sound bad to say that a game's been a huge part of my life, but here I am, you know, what, 15 years later at least, and I'm still there playing that same game. It I feel like it helped shape me as a person somewhat.
Yeah. Well, it's a again, it's one of those things that unless people have played um for a long time a good MMO like RuneScape, they just don't get it, right? But it is a pretty unique perspective, I think, and one that is specific to gamers. Oftentimes I've noticed a there's always like some feeling of, I think, like alienation that drives people to play and interact with online video games at, I'll say, forming moments in their childhood. So it's usually like middle school and high school are the years where people, they feel the most dejected. And in your case,
Yeah,
it sounds like because you were from the countryside and you went to high school with city people, right? And you had an accent, people couldn't really understand you. Um,
man, it was a huge difference going to a school like that, man. I don't know if you realize how backwoods, I guess, the school I went to was. Like, it was probably like a 99% white school. We had one guy that I can remember that was half black, and the rest were like white guys or white people, I guess you could say. So when I went to high school, it was like a huge shock. Like, damn, I've never experienced anything like this, and I kind of just distanced myself until I made friends. But people like me were few and far between in a school like that, and it kind of just drove me deeper into the game, I guess. I had friends when I first started on RuneScape. One of my best friends was actually this lady that I think she was like in her 50s or 60s at the time, like an older lady that played RuneScape, and she was always a higher level than me. I think she was actually maxed out at one point when we were still playing together, and this lady would give me tips and tricks in the game. But then when I had problems with somebody and was complaining about it on RuneScape, she would actually give me like advice, tips on how to deal with certain situations. Like,
that's awesome. Are you still friends with that lady?
I haven't. She's one of the people that I've kept on my friends list, but I haven't seen on in years.
Sure. Yeah, no, that is special, right? You can like I used to be like so amazed, and it's only something I think like in retrospect I can look back on. But there were times in high school, not so much RuneScape. Like by the time I was in high school, I was already off RuneScape because of EOC. But there were other like online video games. Like there was this game called Grawl Online, where I used to just talk to people for like hours, usually late at night. Like when I'm supposed to be doing homework or something, and add my own laptop. But it was like you know the people that you could talk to that at that moment in your high school career that it when it seemed like people weren't listening to you in high school, but you had like an ear online of somebody who seemed to care, right? It really is a an impactful experience, I think, and one that is important. So I'm not surprised that you say like RuneScape is a game that you had some maybe I don't know if you said life changing experiences on there, but very important ones. Sounds like.
So it probably kept me from getting into a lot of trouble from, a lot of kids I was friends with in high school, they got into like drugs or just being general like criminals and stuff like that, which I was never into. So, they would get off doing their stuff like that, and I would go home and I would play RuneScape for hours on end. And it got to the point where, man, I ended up getting kicked out of school in high school because I had, I think, 35 absences in one semester. And that's because all I did was play RuneScape with my friends. It was almost like my happy place at that point in time.
Why do you why did you miss school like so much? Like were you being bullied, or like were you just not doing well in school? Like what
I never had a problem with being bullied because I was one of the kids that was quicker to throw down and fight with you than the others. Where I grew up, like we were kind of a rough bunch. If somebody says something out of place to you, then by God, we're gonna fight about it. But these kids, they weren't like that. They would kind of shit talk you, and then when shit got too serious, they would go tell on you. So there again, I didn't really fit in with that crowd because I didn't understand the way people behave. Um, for me, it was like I would stay up all night playing RuneScape until like daylight, and then I would go to bed and sleep almost all day until school would have been over anyways, and then I would get back up and play RuneScape again.
were your parents not like checking up on you? Because like didn't you only have access to a computer at the library?
Well, when I went to high school and I moved in with my mom, they had like an office, I guess, in their house,
Okay,
and I
family
was able
computer.
to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to play on a PC at that point in time, but um, I see my growing up with my dad and living in the country and stuff. I was raised way differently than my mom, who she's kind of like liberal leaning, like kind of left wing, and they don't do stuff the same way as traditionally conservative people that live in the country did. And yeah, they would try to, like discipline me, I guess, but the way like her and my stepdad, the way they went about it, it just it kind of pissed me off more than anything. And I would get into fights with my stepdad, and he wasn't a fighter by any means, and they would end up just calling the cops on me or just letting me do my thing, which I didn't feel like it was that bad anyways. Because I mean, legit, I'm just down here playing RuneScape, you know, listening to music, talking to my friends.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot going on in your life at the time that it was all that compounded together with the social stuff and then the family stuff. RuneScape
Yeah,
really was an escape, right? And a almost like a happy place where you could kind of like get out of all the shitty stuff that was happening on in your life, right? And
I
you were
mean,
able to interact with people who treated you like you were just a regular person.
it really was a happy place. I got passed back and forth between my mom and my dad's house several times because of disagreements they had. Um, child support and this and that. They could never get along. It was always they were going to court with one another because one of them wanted more child support. And I remember playing RuneScape one time, and I guess my mom and my dad had been on the phone arguing about something. And my mom came down there and told me that I needed to pack my stuff because I didn't fit in down there at their house. I need to move back with my dad. I kind of got passed around a lot, and RuneScape was always there for me, and my friends on RuneScape were always there for me when I had any kind of problem. Even if I didn't bring said problem to them, they were always there to talk to and do something fun on RuneScape. My biggest thing was Clan Wars back before it was where it's at now, where you could go in with just like two or three of your friends and fight a 2 or 3 man clan and just, you would just forget all about the struggles you had going on while you were there.
Yeah, Clan Wars was pretty great. I remember that. World 141 was what it was for at least free to play, and yeah, that was a good time. But yeah, I do. I can't. I can't relate like specifically to that degree of being passed around from family member to family member, but I can relate at least in the side of having friends online who were always down to talk and they were always cool and you could always do stuff with, right? And that was something that I had on RuneScape, and till this day still
That
has like a special part of my heart. And it's kind of like that still today, really. I mean, like I don't know, I don't know,
it
like
is for
it's
me
just
to
nice to
this
talk to
day.
people.
And that's one of the reasons why I stay in the same clan chat that I'm in now with you guys. Even if I'm not talking, just, I see some of the same people on all the time and somebody's always talking about something interesting, it seems like, or some kind of, you know, crazy, like dramatic conversation or something going on. Every now and then I might chime in, but more or less I just sit there and I like to watch what's going on. I'm a people watcher.
Yeah. Well, people watch her on RuneScape rather while you're at work doing your own thing. Kind of keeps it interesting, is what it sounds like.
It definitely keeps it interesting, especially where we're at now. It's just kind of hard to find people that have like the same views and same ideas about things as you. And I found several people in this clan that, even if jokingly kind of sort of agree with some of the stuff I say. And people like that, I feel like are getting harder and harder to find nowadays.
You just got to know where to find them, I think. And then when you do find them, you know, you keep them in an environment that is close to you. So like this clan, for example, and then you just kind of have all those people together, and then you have your own group of cool people. That's always how I envisioned the evolution of this clan. Is It's kind of like the founding of Rome. You find like Rome was founded by Romulus after killing Remus, of course, his brother. But it was founded with a bunch of dejects and misfits, right? and until this day, we know what Rome is, and it was founded by gamers, not specifically gamers, but it's the people who were outcasts, rather. So they have a place in society, and they're very important people.
It's really cool to me that like there's a bunch of people that, you know, I guess we got people from like what, Australia, like Great Britain. We got people from all over the world in this clan, and although they may not agree with the same stuff other people have to say, they're down to sit there and argue back and forth with it. And a lot of them, they won't just get straight up mad and start, cussing and all this. They'll sit there and go back and forth with you, which is, kind of what I'm into. Just, I'm sure you probably haven't seen me get mad or upset over anything anybody said to me in that clan. And
No, I
I,
can't.
I just,
I can't imagine getting mad over a video game. Like till this day, when people like get so triggered that they leave, that's something that I cannot relate to. It's just I don't know. I kind of have like the Joker syndrome. I just laugh uncontrollably and at inappropriate times. But it's
I can't remember. I remember we were all talking about, I don't know, somebody was talking about Adam Sandler, and I had like just this off the wall view of Adam Sandler, and I made that. I can't remember the guy's name. I made him mad. It's when I first joined the clan, and he had rank in the clan, and man, he just got mad, and I think you ended up shooting that guy and promoting me over this, and I think he ended up leaving.
Oh, yeah, I
Like,
think that was that was Base God. That was his name.
yes, it was, man. Like, I didn't mean to make dude that mad. I'm just the type of guy, like, I'll go back and forth with you, and I'm not gonna get mad about it, but I'll
Yeah,
sit there and go
I
for
switched.
hours.
I switched your guys' ranks because I just thought it was funny, and I forgot about
I
that.
think I think that's how I gained rank in this clan is over that right there.
Yeah, you were an S level troll, and I was like, this is good. Wait, that's funny.
But the guy took it to heart, and I didn't mean for it to go down like that. But man, I'll go for hours. I'm like I said, I'm there for the conversation and the people. Every now and then I'll chime in on a subject like that just to stir up, hate and discontent, just for my own entertainment. But man, he took it to heart.
Good. Yeah,
That's,
it's one of the best moments in the clan. I totally forgot about it, but it was phenomenal.
I mean, I still feel bad about it though. I didn't mean to do him that way.
That's okay. It is what it is. But yeah, so moving forward though, so you had a pretty rough childhood. Actually, I don't know. I'm not gonna use any adjectives to describe it. It sounds like you had a childhood that you had, and RuneScape was there at times when you felt like you really needed it. Did you have friends that got into drugs, and is that why you say that RuneScape helped you just be on a healthier track?
Seeing when I was in, I think start from about second grade until I was in eighth grade, I had the same group of friends, and it was me and I think three or four other guys. And like especially all summer long when we were out of school, we were always hanging out at one person or the other's house doing something outside. Um, it could be anything from like just shooting guns or riding dirt bikes or going hunting to just walking through the woods or anything. I mean, even back then we would find ways to drink beer back then. Um, but turns out all those people, every one of those guys ended up on drugs and to this day is still on drugs. And I'm not trying to put myself around stuff like that. I've never been one to let any kind of anything have more control of over my mind than I have over it. Um, just every one of those guys, man, well, I say everyone. I think two or three of those guys have literally almost died several times because of their addictions with drugs, and I can't make myself be a part of it. All I've ever dreamed about was having, a wife and kids and a family and
Based.
doing better for my family than what I had when I was a kid. And that's what means the most to me in life. I'm not even willing to try certain things like drugs. I mean, I've smoked pot before, like in high school. Can't really do it now because I get random drug tested and that shit's not worth putting my family and my income at risk. But I'm the only one out of all of those guys that didn't end up addicted to some type of drug. I've seen them lose good jobs and almost die. I think one of them actually wrecked his vehicle and literally like almost got his arm amputated. I think he wrecked with a needle in his arm somehow. Found him in a ditch and it was like 40 degrees and raining outside. They found him the next day. It's just I can't be involved in that.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be involved in that. That's very bad stuff. So you were very responsible for not doing that. And you think like a large part of it was really because you played RuneScape. It kept you out of trouble.
Well, see, yeah, I mean, I was always brought up like my parents telling me like you better not ever do no kind of drugs, this and that. And at that point in time, I considered weed a drug because that's all I'd ever heard, and I'd never tried it. And now I don't consider weed a drug by any means because I smoked it for years, and um, that probably chilled me out a lot by smoking in itself because growing up I had some pretty bad anger issues. And actually, I'd say for at least 10 years of my RuneScape career, if you could say that, I probably smoked weed and played RuneScape and listened to music and talked to my friends. And, meanwhile, my other friends are out doing pills. I got some that did heroin and, people that smoked meth that I grew up with and was friends with. I'll stick to my RuneScape friends when it comes to that.
Yeah, not a bad option and choice. You know, uh, one of them has more longevity, and it's definitely not the latter, right? But
Yeah.
you know, there's another guy that I talked with, um, and his episode's coming out, but it's Fragged. I introduced y'all to you earlier today.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw him in there.
yeah, he's a pretty cool dude. You know, for some reason, I was just like, you know, I just feel like, you know, you and Fragged share a lot in common, and you guys really do. He had a similar story, um, related to, you know, being on, or just really just being like a degenerate, but like, you know, but RuneScape was a tool that really kept him out of getting in a lot more trouble, right? And he shared
Yeah.
that same sentiment because he did have friends that went down worse paths, and because he played RuneScape and was into, you know, creating different accounts, you know, just over and over again. uh, almost autistically actually, but it kept him out of trouble, and you know, so two walks of life. He came from a different background, but um, you know, similar journeys and the same. I'll say, what's the good word? The same. I don't know if RuneScape's a cure, right? But the same buoy that helped him just not progress further into worse stuff.
Yeah, I never meant for it to be that way, like that big of a part of my life, but like, man, I just got in, got hooked on it. The people, like the things you can do, like there was just the possibilities seemed unlimited. Like that was even before I'd ever become a member. I think my favorite world to play was like World 35, and I don't know if you remember, but by the fountain in Brock or however you want to say it, where the member people would always come and stand right there on that one little corner by the staff shop. I would always see those guys out there, and all I could think about was, damn, man, it must be awesome to be a member. But at this point, I hadn't even fully, completed all the quests, as a free player. But I just there was just so much content in this game. Like I just wanted to see more. My friends would be like, "Hey, let's go do this and this." I'm like, "Nah, I got to go home. I got plans." And my plans was always playing RuneScape. I don't know. I owe this game a lot. I feel like.
Yeah, no, it it sounded like it worked out for you though. You know, at least in your peer group where they are now and where you are now. Uh, I'd say you're doing pretty you're doing pretty well. Like you're married, you reproduced, so you have successfully, you know, created more copies of your genes, and so your legacy lives on, at the very least, and most important, actually, right? So, and RuneScape sounds like it contributed to it a lot, and you're still playing, so that's pretty sick.
Yeah, man. Even to this day, though, a lot of times if I'm in a bad mood or just a random day, I may wake up and feel kind of depressed. I can always count on logging into RuneScape and all you people in this clan just on there talking shit or just anything, just having a random conversation. Even if I don't interact, it's just an escape. And an hour or two of doing that, and I can go back to being my normal self, and it kind of helps me. in my relationship with like my wife. I feel like even though she gets mad as hell that I'm, always on RuneScape. Well, I mean, you got to realize these guys on here are my friends, just like anybody else that I hang out with. I mean, if you've never been there and done that, you wouldn't understand, but that's the way I look at it. They're just as much friends as anybody else that I know.
I appreciate hearing that. It's that really means a lot, to think that you found some deep, meaningful relationships in kind of online, and you appreciate the clan, and it's a form of positive coping for you as well, to help you deal with your in real life, so that you don't take out, you know, things on your wife or kids, right? You can better manage your situation, and it sounds like approach things more clear headedly just by being on RuneScape a little bit. You think, is that the main function of RuneScape for you today? Really, just a you describe it as an escape, but like it sounds more therapeutic for you to just kind of sit there and interact with people. Like, do you not
Yeah,
get that from your work? Because you are interacting a lot more with people at your work now, prior than your machinery job.
I'm a different person at work than I am, off the clock. When I'm at work, I'm kind of all business because I mean, I take that really seriously because I mean that's my family's only source of income, and if I lose that, then my whole family's in jeopardy. So at work, I don't really interact with people that much, but outside of work, I mean, everybody's adults now that I'm friends with, and they got their own stuff going on, and I don't really get to hang out with those friends as much, so I can get on RuneScape, and hang out with everybody, in the clan, or just stand there at the Grand Exchange and just watch people talk shit and talk crap to people there. It is kind of therapeutic, I guess, because I think it does help me outside of the game and outside of work, especially on bad days.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it. Um, yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, Tractor, we're approaching the 1 hour, and we're close to the 1 hour and 20 minute mark, and actually we have a few people listening here, so I'm kind of open up to questions. If Bully and Aka, if y'all have any questions you want to ask Tractor, I'm kind of go ahead and unmute y'all. But
Sweet.
yeah, all right, yeah, all right, you guys are
Are you
unmuted.
guys are? Yeah, I guess I could come up with a question. Hey guys, how's it going?
It's
It's going
So
uh,
it's
well.
going well. So I know Tractor, you have at least two different accounts. Have you ever made an Iron Man? Dave thought to making an Iron Man, and if not, why not?
I've never made an Iron Man. One reason is because honestly, I don't even know how to go about making one. Second of all, I'm not exactly as skilled at RuneScape as a lot of you guys are. And man, you put a lot of effort into those accounts, and a lot of times I'm just, you know, standing around just bullshit and listening to other people talk, or I would just never make it anywhere as an Iron Man. I don't have what it takes. I don't have the knowledge, the skills, the patience.
Cool, fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really hard game mode to play, and I've never actually tried it, but man, I can't even make myself just do basic quests on my account right now, much less, fend for myself and do everything solo, basically.
Yeah, it is a different game mode. There's a few people that I've talked to on here, and it seems like the I describe it as like a cyclical cycle of RuneScape, where it goes like, you play on a regular account, and then once you progress really far into that, a lot of people end up playing on an Iron Man. It sounds like in your case, though, you enjoy just being a regular account, perpetually hanging out in the mid-level range, which I've never met
Yeah,
anyone like that before. So that's
I'm
that's
not
pretty
a
phenomenal.
I'm not a really productive player. Like I don't do a whole lot of stuff. The money that I do have, it I gave it to myself from that 1488 account, and like once I run out, like it's done. So I don't really spend a lot of money or do a lot of things. I do Slayer every now and then, but I feel like these Iron Man players just have like a more in-depth knowledge of the game. Of course, I guess they have to if they want to make it anywhere, but I don't even do bossing, man. Like I've done bandos, but that's it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're more of a casual player. And
Yeah, I guess
RuneScape
you could say
serves
that.
the function of a social outlet for you, and it always has, which I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I don't really take the game too seriously, like the game itself, but I just the interaction between other people is one of the main things I like about it.
Do you think you'll ever quit RuneScape,
Is
or
that it?
or 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 rather, do you feel like you'll ever really move on from RuneScape?
I I mean, I feel like at a certain point for anybody, when you play it a certain amount, like, is there really a possibility of quitting this game in particular? I mean, I can't seem to just drop it forever. I always come back to it. I don't know if I'll ever quit playing it.
Yeah, that's fair. What is it that always makes you come back? Is it always the community? Because it sounds like
The
even though you
people.
come back, a lot of people that you used to talk to don't play anymore, right? So
It doesn't matter that those people, I mean, it does, but it doesn't matter that those people quit because there's always somebody new you can meet and make friends with, I feel like. Um, but yeah, the people I feel like are the main reason I keep playing the game.
it's a very wholesome answer. I like it. It kind of reminds me of the journey aspect of life, but also in your case, I guess the journey aspect that is RuneScape, rather, right? Although the original friends, like your first friend that you made, that you're still friends with on Facebook today, may not play anymore, or the 56-year-old lady that used to give you advice back in high school when things were going rough has not logged on in years, right? It it's it's refreshing to always come back to the thing that started it all and approaching it just as when you create new accounts, as a process and a journey, rather than having like a specific goal or intention of
Yeah,
doing so, right? Like you're playing things to experience it, and I think that's enough of a cause and a reason in and of itself.
yeah. Like I said earlier, I mean, there's probably thousands of different ways you could play RuneScape and still enjoy it. This is just my way, you know. I'm not out to be the richest player or the highest level player or, have the coolest items in the game. It's just the interaction with other people. I feel like it's what keeps bringing me back.
Nice. I think Ak he's got a looks like he's got something to chime in here.
Let's
Yeah,
hear it.
so I didn't have any questions, but I did think it was a really good podcast. And honestly, there were a lot of wholesome points. Kind of when you felt like you were part of like the RuneScape community, regardless of how much of the community felt like you were a part of in real life. And I think that is something that can probably resonate with a lot of us. Uh, I know Workless has shared a few times, like, he always felt like he could get on with some friends and just kind of like play RuneScape and like get lost and enjoy the time. It sounds like that was true for you too. And I don't know, those
Yeah.
are just kind of fun things to like reminisce on, you know? and like really be able to say like, hey, like this was my go-to to escape and just kind of forget about everything that was happening. So like I said, no real questions, but I thought those were like some cool like wholesome notes to hit on.
Yeah, and you say was, but for me, it still kind of is,
Right.
kind of an escape, man. But I don't know of any other game that it's like that because you could get on like Xbox Live or play live on PlayStation, and I feel like even though you have friends that you play with on there, you don't interact with them the same way that you do, friends on RuneScape. I feel like it's just more personal.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it's been a lot of fun being part of the clan. Like, you know, a lot of us are good friends in here, and we always, especially with you. I mean, you were gone for a little bit, and now you're back, and everybody's like, just really happy to see you and catch up. We got a good sense of community, and it's a nice way to augment that social aspect in real life.
Yeah, once I found you guys in this clan, man, I would have to get kicked out because I probably wouldn't leave. I feel like it's a good group of people, man. Even though everybody might not see things the same way, it's just a good group of people.
For sure. Definitely agree. Yeah, man. Really enjoyed your podcast.
I
Uh,
appreciate it, man.
I'll
Yeah,
turn it back to work listening, you guys.
Ack is getting very sentimental here. There's often moments where he gets very appreciative, and this seems to be the right one. So you did a good job, Tractor.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I didn't know how this would go because I was kind of afraid, like, man, I'm not gonna know what to say, and it's just gonna be awkward silence because I'm, not that social of a person, I guess. But went better than I thought it was gonna go.
Yeah, it went by really fast, right?
Well, for me, yeah, especially
Yeah, it's just
because
how
I
it
mean, I know
is.
y'all saw me in the chat earlier talking about being nervous about it or whatever, and I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't as bad as I thought.
No, you did great, and I think people that were listening to this will really appreciate your perspective and your story. So, thanks again. But yeah, and before I wrap up here, last thing I got for you is, or my last question rather, is what words of wisdom or advice, either on life or in game or both, could you share with our audience here um, before we wrap up?
Man, I know this is gonna sound stupid as shit, but the only piece of advice I've ever lived by, and I know this is gonna sound dumb and completely off the wall, unrelated, but it's been never trust a man with a ponytail, and that's always turned out to be good advice for me. They're always sketchy as shit, I'm telling
Well, it's a good thing you don't know what I look like in real life. So
you.
we're
I'm just saying. I mean, I've worked with every guy that I've ever worked with that had a ponytail ended up being like a thief or on drugs or you just couldn't trust him for whatever reason or another.
That's funny.
Like this guy probably owns a ferret or something. It's just, I don't know.
Wait, do you not own a ferret? No, I'm just messing with you.
I hate those things.
Cool. Well, you heard it here from Tractor Ass. Don't trust a person with a ponytail.
Mainly just men.
Mainly just men. So, I will. Yes, I will never show what I look like then. Anyways,
Oh, damn.
nah, I'm just messing with you. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah. Well, that's it, guys. Bye.
There are baby fucking blood drinkers ruining your internet.
Dude, that's so funny. I just started the recording right when you said that, but okay.